Morning, everybody. It is Friday, May 3rd. Welcome to May. The Vindex is 76.25. What does that mean? That means it's, coming off of the spring high. Obviously, I've been telling you that for a few weeks. But it's flat. It's like muddy and flat, and there's no money to be made. There is money to be made, but there's no money to be made. It's just a tough market to trade. I'd rather see the ass end falling out of it, where everybody's scared and you can price cars that might make a profit. Right now it's just muddy and flat. You know, it's weird. I'm looking at you got two things. You got gross and you've got net. And gross, if you give $10,000 for a car and you sell it at the auction for $11,000, that's $1,000 gross. Doesn't include recon, doesn't include shipping, doesn't include a house fee or anything of that nature, touch-up dents. And I'm looking at our gross per copy, and it's decent. If you went back 5 years ago, you'd call it good. And I'm looking at our net, and it's slim. And it's inflation. But it might be a little bit of management on our end because, we got to rolling so hard that some of our vendors might have gotten loosey-goosey and need a tune-up on the way we're expensing stuff to our cars. So, when it gets like this, you have to roll up your old sleeves and be a little bit better manager, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. But it's, what does it cost to handle a car? My design for the company, for the wholesalers especially, is minimal. We're on the splits. Our guys are on the splits. They are 50-50 with the company, but their fees are incredibly low. There's no interest fee. There's no insurance fee. There's $100 flat deal fee. But just to put it in perspective, our FedEx bill is $1 million a year. Our insurance is $1 million a year. We have some significant overhead at GiveMeTheVin. So my goal with buyers is so they make more money working with us with a better quality of life than they would make on their own paying next gear, and Bobby Sue, the bookkeeper, and Jose, the detail man, and Billy Bob, the truck driver. You know what it costs to run a wholesale outfit. I understand. I've been in both sides of it and in the middle. And I've taken a lot of guys that came from having their own shingle and their own next gear and their own insurance and their own rent to coming with us and making more money with us covering the overhead and supplying all the tech and supplying all the everything and the selling machine, obviously. What's my point? Expenses. It's just pissing me off because Mac is out of hand. Dents, I think we got a deal on. Transport is very similar to what it was. We don't transport our own cars. We don't have our own haul trucks because I don't want the liability. I don't want the bullshit. Do we get burned every once in a while? Sure, but we have the girls. I had a good friend of mine, Frank at Earth Motors, called me. He had 2 Range Rovers stolen off of a transport rig, and they did validate the transporter's insurance, but it excludes theft. But he and I were talking. I'm like, well, the drivers, the Russians, were employees of the transport company. So that's not theft like outside theft, that's inside theft. We had cars stolen where it's bad, where the cars are coming off the trailers at the auction lot, and the transporter lines it up next to his trailer, and then he goes up on the trailer to get the next one, and he's up there unloading the next one, and a guy comes and steals the Mercedes that's down on the ground with the keys still sitting in it. And he left the keys in it. So it's his fault. This theft thing on hauling is real, and we've all experienced it. You're probably sitting there shaking your head too. Open your eyes to that. But if you're using Central, you need to call the people that you're dispatching to and validate their insurance. You get their card and you call the agent on that card and you validate that they have the coverage and that it's current. Because just like, we've all done it. You let your insurance expire, but you got a good card. You get pulled over and you're good. Be smarter and take it one step further. The market is, 3-year-old and back is good, and current next to new is not good versus MMR. When we say good, bad, it's versus MMR, because in our world, MMR means so much. If you sell a car for MMR, it's a huge success. Woo! We're selling cars 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 back on 2024s, 23s, and 22s. Because that's old rules, and MMR went up too high. Watch our G-Wagons. We had 15 G-Wagons last week, and we sold them anywhere between, 5 to 10 to 12,000 back of MMR. So when the guy's calling you on a trade-in and MMR's 210 and you're putting 180 in it, that's 30 back. You're putting 190 in it. You're probably putting 180 in it. On that particular car, I think we sold one for 188 that had an MMR 210. I'll need to go back and look. But, they don't know what you know. They don't know what we know. They're not watching it. So they think you're trying to steal. And they tell you they've got 200 covered. And they're lying. Either they're lying or they are dealing with someone that's not in the know that's fixing to learn a lesson on new values. And there's a lot of that going on right now. And there are guys that step off and because they need to protect their holes and they need to protect their face and they don't keep up with things like what we're doing right here, right now. And understand that, this market is changing. And it's a slippery slope. So anyway, I'm not telling you old wholesalers anything you don't know. Carvana stock, now that's something I don't know, from $10 to $100 in, a year? God, I wish I had their accountants. They must be really talented people. $6,500 a car, average profit, back to the gross and the net thing. Oh, well, wait, fuzzy math. $6,500 a car profit. Yeah. And in other news, went to Mecum, Barrett, and Greensboro over the past 3 weeks. Classic car sales have been same thing. They're muddy. You can't sell anything and make money. You can't buy anything and make money. You can. I'm overgeneralizing, but not like normal. And edgy shit is slipping off quick, and good shit is still good. But the middle stuff is what's all moving around, and that's exactly what's going on in our wholesale market. Exactly what's going on. I watched a guy flip in Greensboro for a $50,000 bill. JD Pass. He sold this car retail for $175, this Charger, 2 years ago, maybe 3. It goes through the auction and it brings $125, $50,000 less. The buyer and the consignor are grinding it out and trying to figure it out, and they wind up doing a flip deal. And the dollar amount is $50,000.
I'm calling it. It's 100 or 150.
You said a what is it?
Ready? Yeah. Tails never fail. Hands. Hit the chair. It's hands. I'm ready for it.
So they're at 125. I'm going to flip you. And if I win, I'm selling it to you for 150. If I lose, I'm selling it to you for 100. And of course he won and he got $150,000 for the car. The car got registered as a sale. And if you look at the website, as post sales, they show $150,000 sale. And it just as easily could have been 100. But I don't think there was a hell of a lot of flipping going on during COVID. I think the market was taking care of itself. Kenneth Stanley used to flip for a lot. I watched him one day in a very similar situation. Guy said, we wanted to flip for 500. And then he said, why don't we flip for 5,000? And then Kenneth said, why don't we just flip for the whole goddamn car? And they did that, and Kenneth won in the auction lane in Dallas about 25 years ago, 30 years ago. So Barrett, the quality of car in these consignment sales is not that great. I noticed their Florida offering was kind of flat. Mecum Houston was tough. I sent 14 cars to see if the grass was any greener. It's not at all. And I've got about 20 cars in Dallas on Wednesday in our lane, 20. Some of those Alabama barn confined cars, I think I pulled 5 of them. I'm sending them to Dallas and some other stuff. We've got a good thing going at Dallas, and I just sell them to y'all. I don't need to sell them at these sales and pay fees and go way across the country and be disappointed. I'd rather if I'm going to lose money, I'd rather do it to you guys, my customers that come every week, than pay sales fees on top of losses. It's just not necessary. But our volume went from 1,000 a week to this week we sold 650 cars. It's a pretty big dip. And is that going to change immediately? No, sir, it is not. Why? Because nobody's going to like our offer. You're not going to like our offer. You guys that use us all the time, you're not going to like our offer. Customers not going to like your offer. Nobody's going to like anybody's offer. Why? Because we're adjusting. I'm being a little dramatic. I'm going through it too fast. But it does feel, it was hard to rep those cars on Wednesday. We do a conference call every Thursday morning and everybody had the same, it felt like October. Wasn't that bad, but it felt like October. It was difficult. And That means that the market's slipping and that the offers are changing and that our bids are changing and that what we paid you a month ago or you paid your customer a month ago is changing and nobody's going to be happy and everybody's going to be pissed off. So I've always done better. You know, I've been at this for roughly 30 years. I've made more money in a high market where I have to pay too much for cars and we sell them for too much plus a tick than a mud market. But this mud market will get rid of a lot of the low-hanging fruit competitors that came on during the COVID run. We lost about half of them last summer when we went through the first adjustment, and we'll lose the other half this summer, besides the guys that have been at it a long time and know what they're doing. And there'll be some new guys that are good at it too. I'm not knocking anybody. We were all new at one time. But the phone's already ringing with people wanting to come join Give Me the Vin, and I'm always hiring and looking to grow for the right people. It's not about what I can teach you, and I will. It's about what is your experience and your work ethic, and where do you buy cars? Where are your stops? We've got plenty of money to trade with. That is one thing we are not going to run out of. We did $2 billion in volume 2 years ago. We did about 1.6 last year, and this year, if I was guessing, I bet it'd be 1.4. Because the average cost of car is shrinking and the transaction is shrinking because we can't just go ballistic and pay crazy. And even if we are paying crazy, if Give Me the Vin's bids are crazy, it doesn't look crazy because MMR is 50 grand and we're 47.5. And that sounds like we're lowballing because MMR says 50. But go look at MSRP versus MMR. Okay, well, it's a 2-year-old Tacoma and MMR is 2,000 back of MSRP from 2 years ago? Whoa, Nelly, something's wrong. Use your common sense, use your books, use your black book, use your Kelly Blue book, use your MMR, use your AccuTrade, use your Galves, use your whatever the hell you got, but most importantly, use your balls and use your guts and be a car man with some opinion. Because the books are not going to bid these for you anymore. My site can't bid these for you anymore. My guys, our tools we use can't bid these for us anymore. They can, but it's not as accurate. We're having to use what sells, what's too cheap, what's too high. What do you think? What's MSRP? What's invoice? What's days supply? What's rebates? That's a big one. Dodge. 2023 Dodge, 2024 Dodge. You want to get your ass kicked, go get a hold of something like that and then tell me about MMR. I can't help you. So imagine us, we buy so many cars from the public. We've got 90 people spread across the country, but most of them in a big headquarters, boiler room in Fort Worth, Texas, bidding these website cars all day long. People are just throwing, cussing us and you're crazy and what, their payoffs are skewed. I was talking to a buddy of mine that runs Exeter Capital. He used to run Santander yesterday. Their loss ratio is typically 17% is what the setup is, and they're operating at about 28 right now, and that is because of the numbers of the 2022 run, the loans that they got in 2022 and 2023. Yeah, 2022. When they sell those repos from 2022, it's screwing up their numbers. And we all knew that was going to happen, and that's why some of these finance companies left. And I asked them, why did so many finance companies just bail the F out? And big banks have reserve losses. And when their auto department reserve losses are soaking up, their exposure is soaking up a third of their total reserve loss exposure, and the examiners are showing them this, that they're having to take 100% of the reserve losses. I'm talking about real bank, right? Not bullshit bank. And they're having to take a third of that reserve loss. It's moved from 17% or 15% to 33% on their coverage for their automobile portfolio. You know what they're saying? Screw it, I'm out. And this is typical and trendy of the cycles over the years. The guys that get into the C paper and D paper, they pull out first when things get shaky. And then the D paper buyers move up and start picking up some C, and then they start picking up some B because Wells Fargo just got the hell out of the space. Or this guy just got the hell out of the space. And you retailers that make this whole thing run, this is what I'm talking about is what makes your whole thing run. Doyle Davis, you say, boy, find me send me some cars that I can sell to a bank when I first started wholesaling. You know, that's what we do. We buy cars that we can sell to a bank. The bank is paying XYZ of left-hand book trade in J.D. Power, and the math goes on. And when these banks start moving around, then that changes your deal. That changes my deal. That changes everybody's deal. And that's happening too. But here's what I can say. I know I sound a little disappointed. I'm not disappointed. I've been doing this roughly 30 years. I need to look it up to see how long I've actually been doing it. I know 96 was wholesale. And 91 was when I started as a Ford salesman right out of high school that one summer. But that was only one summer. So I think in 96 I'll be wholesale for our next year, 2025, for 30 years. But the same shit's been going on. I've made a profit every year I've been doing this. It's a good business, and the retail's a good business. Who do you know, besides doctors, lawyers, and insurance, that live like we do? Really, that's what got me into it. It's probably what got you into it. You don't have to go to med school. You don't have to go to law school. You don't have to go to business school if you're good at this. You can join the club. You can donate to the stuff. You can drive a nice car and live in a nice home, and your wife has a Gucci bag. It's a neat space to be in. And there's guys like me that have been hyper successful, right? I'm the wholesaler that is the success story of the day. But I was just like every single solitary little guy. I used to drive my own 3-car. I worked out of a shit bag lot on Altamira and Fort Worth. I used to run to the bank, and I was sweet to the lady, and that let me take my titles out on 3-day site drafts and turn them back in and get immediate credit. I used to float money and watch that checkbook like there was nothing else to it, hanging on. I wasn't a car dealer. I was a shipbuilder. You had to make the money float. And so I really understand the basics and the fundamentals of what we all do. I've just been at it a long time, had a lot of success, and that radio show didn't hurt a damn thing either. You know, that radio show is what got me into households and created our brand name into households, which created that ability to buy consumer cars. And that's where the best money is, you know, and we've done that for a long time, and now the rags are just talking about it, but and some other things as well. And, you know, I work my balls off like crazy, and, you know, if somebody called me, I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, and they're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and there's, you know, 48 cars or 25 cars to look at that I think will work, I'm going to get in the car and drive up there. Now I'll send somebody, but I used to run all over the place, and, you know, I had a little airplane, Bonanza, and flew auction to auction. I would fly into markets that didn't have good commercial service, and that was my edge. You know, I flew 2,000 hours as a pilot, and I had 3 haul trucks, and I'd run up and down the highway and dump them off and detail them in the middle of the night and get them across the block before the check's cleared. I get it. Trust me. So, thanks for tuning in. We will, we're just not going to have as good a year as what we've been having. And we're going to go through a little adjustment. And if you think you fit some of the qualifications I'm talking about earlier, go to that jcwshow.com and click email John. That goes straight to me. The Give Me the Vin stuff does not go straight to me. It gets filtered. But the other stuff does. And I will see you next week. Remember, we've got a good lineup. I think we're going to have about 700 cars next week. We sold 8 Tesla Cybertrucks in a row last Wednesday. You know, I had one guy, and I'll tell you guys, I had a guy, and I like him a lot out in California. He kind of went a little market making on us and didn't ask anybody what he thought, what we thought when he was given 137, 136, 138 grand for these Cybertrucks over the past week. And look up, we have 8 of them lined up. And I'm like, these cars are going to sell for 135 to 130. Look on OVE, and there's 2 of them posted for 135 that you can buy now. So we sold them between 130 and 134, I think, and they lost. And that's why it's good to check in with, that's why it's good to be part of a team. He didn't do it. I don't know why he didn't use the group chat and ask us all, hey, what do you think about this? I'm on my 3rd Tesla truck for the week at 137. Whenever you're getting a lot of stuff bought, the market may have changed on them. So I've had it happen with forerunners. I'll look up on our list and we're real heavy in forerunners, or we're real heavy. I'll go way back in Ford Tauruses or Caravans from the PH&H and the lease plan days when I was a PHH dealer. But when you start looking up, you got a bunch of shit bought that's cheap. It's probably not cheap because the market changed on it. Nobody told you. So I'm telling you now. See you Wednesday. Thanks.